On the news tonight, Ondo State's Local Government Service Commission tasked public servants on capacity building for grassroots development. Aviation workers threaten fresh strike over minimum wage, improved conditions of service. NEMA raises red flag on high risk of flooding in coastal communities. And on the foreign scene, Moroccan courts elongate jail sentences for 3 convicts of child rape. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the news. My name is Oyewumi Ayinigbara. Newly inducted administrative officers in the local government of Ondo State have been tasked to exhibit high level of responsibility towards lifting the public service to greater heights. The chairman, Ondo State Local Government Service Commission, Mr. Femi Idris, at the 2023 annual conference of the Association of Administrative Officers of Local Government Service of Ondo State held in Akure, the Ondo State capital, said the quest to bring back people-oriented public service must begin at the grassroots. Joy Pius takes up the story from here.
23 annual conference of the Association of Administrative Officers of Local Government Service of Ondo State, and also the induction of 22 new members into the elite cadre of the Administrative Officers Forum of the Local Government Service of Ondo State.
Can we give a round of applause for our new members?
In his welcome address, the chairman of the association, Mr. Adewumi Arijeniwa, appreciated the leadership of the Local Government Service Commission for relentless efforts at repositioning the commission for optimal performance.
To appreciate the chairman and members of the commission for their concerted effort in illuminating the positioning of the local government service and for creating an enabling environment for the service to thrive.
The Permanent Service Commission, Mrs. Adenike Ogunshola, stressed the need for constant reorientation of administrative officers so as to keep them on their toes in delivering assigned responsibilities.
Any organization, no matter how conceived, cannot achieve efficient and effective administration except the personnel that are involved are properly oriented.
The chairman, Ondo State Local Government Service Commission, Mr. Femi Idris, while describing the officers as the pillars of service, said their contributions represents the hands behind the wheel of progress when it comes to actualization of government's policies and programs, even as he emphasized improved with other key players for desired results.
You are expected to be the light of the service. You are to provide and chart a pathway and impact positively on the service.
The head of service, Kayode Ogundele, while commending the Commission for training and retraining of its workforce, charged concerned officers to make themselves relevant through self-improvement.
The way we carry ourselves and the way we put everything actually sets us apart.
Delivering a lecture on motivation and management of local government employees for excellent service delivery, the guest lecturer, Mr. Deji Akinwalere, asked personnel to up their game so as to change the narratives of their ministries, departments and agencies for better.
It is not just taking a title. They must work hard, they must be resourceful, they must keep learning, they must be educated. They must have emotional intelligence. These are attributes that can help them to achieve and make impact within the system.
High points of the event included the presentation of awards to the former chairman of the forum, Mr. Emmanuel Sani, in recognition of his enormous contributions to the forum. Joy Pius, OSRC News.
Aviation Workers Union have threatened to withdraw their services over the refusal of the federal government to release the reviewed condition of service negotiated over 7 years ago. Other grievances include the non-implementation of the national minimum wage consequential adjustment and arrears for workers of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency since 2019. The union also rejected the planned demolition of aviation agency buildings in Lagos to pave the way for an airport city project initiated by the Minister of Aviation, Osrc. In a notice of a 2-day warning strike signed by the Secretaries General of 5 aviation unions, the workers vowed to embark on a warning strike beginning from Monday. The unions had earlier in February issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government on the same issue. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has proposed that banks should transfer funds in accounts that have been dormant for up to 10 years into a trust fund account. This instruction was contained in the recently released exposure draft of guidelines on the management of dormant accounts, unclaimed balances and other financial assets in banks and other financial institutions in Nigeria. A circular accompanying the exposure draft stated that the guideline was in response to requests from banks and other stakeholders for the CBN to clarify the procedures for the management of dormant and inactive accounts by banks in the country. The circular, which was signed by the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department of the Apr Bank, Chibuzo Efobi, also called for inputs from stakeholders with a view to further sanitizing the banking sector. Following the collapse of a 7-story building under construction on 1st Avenue in the Banana Island area of Lagos State, the state government has ordered that all development projects in the Highbrook area be placed on hold. The State's Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Motoshaw, in a statement said the process was to ensure that a comprehensive audit was done by officials of the Lagos State Building Control Agency. He explained that the directive was to enable the government to determine the number of buildings being constructed without approval in the community and to know if all the approved buildings were being built in line with the approval limits provided. The Lagos State government has also launched a probe into the collapse of the building following a directive by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Nobody died in the incident, which occurred on Wednesday, while 25 people were rescued from the site, even as high-precision 3D laser imagery system for life used by LASEMA confirmed that there is no evidence of anyone trapped in the rubble. Following the expected rise in sea level and tidal surge that may negatively impact agriculture, human settlement as well as transportation, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed, has warned citizens on high-risk coastal flooding in Lagos, Delta, Bayelsa and Rivers states. Ahmed, who gave the warning in Abuja during the public presentation of the 2023 climate-related disaster preparedness and mitigation strategies, said no fewer than 665 people died, while 3,181 persons were injured across the country as a result of flooding last year. In a related development, residents of Denro community in the Ifo local government area of Ogun State are currently having a tough time accessing their homes and connecting neighboring communities due to flash flooding. The recent flood has destroyed the bridge connecting them to other communities, with residents admitting that the facility has been showing signs of distress for a long time before it finally collapsed during a downpour. Residents are now making do with the long iron rods placed across the river in order to find their way home. Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has passed the bill for a law to provide a map for the state and other matters connected therewith into law. The new law, which is titled the Akwa Ibom State Map Establishment 2023, which is taking effect henceforth, was passed following a report of the Joint Committee on Lands and Housing, Boundary and Conflict Resolution and Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. The bill, sponsored by David Lawrence, representing Eket's constituency, would also reduce agitations communal conflicts as well as enhance development within the mapped out boundaries. The bill is also geared towards promoting cultural affinities of the people within the boundaries and make for easy identification and placement, just as it will also assist in the proper identification and allocation of resources domiciled in the component units. The Akwa Ibom House of Assembly also recommended that all government white paper on boundary issues across the state be taken into consideration and implemented. You're still watching Osrc News at 7. After the break, we'll bring you more stories. Please stay. Glad to have you back. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, Osrc TV. You can subscribe to our channel, Osrc TV Ondo. The Committee of Pro-Chancellors of Nigerian Federal Universities has mourned the passing of its chairman, Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs. Briggs passed away in the early hours of Easter Monday, aged 79. Until his death, the late Briggs was the 5th Vice Chancellor of University of Port Harcourt, Pro-Chancellor of Federal University, Abakaliki, Bayelsa Medical University, Yenagoa, and Chairman, Committee of Pro-Chancellors of Nigerian Universities. Eulogizing the late Don, the alternate chairman of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors, who also doubles as a Pro-Chancellor, Modibo Adama University Yola, Bashir Danhatu, described Briggs as an outstanding intellectual, seasoned public servant and patriotic statesman of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who will be sorely missed. The Ondo State Agency Against Gender-Based Violence has once again stepped up its awareness campaign with a view to stamping out all forms of attack on vulnerable members of society. Latest of such efforts was a sensitizer headquarters of a larger local government area. Our correspondent Issa Olatuju reports that the wife of Ondo State Governor Arabinrin Betty Ayawa Keredolu used the occasion to remind stakeholders that it is time to stand up to be counted in the struggle.
Virtually all the nooks and crannies have at one time or the other welcomed the Ondo State Agency Against Gender-Based Violence in its attempt to galvanize action aimed at societal menace of attack on vulnerable individuals. It was therefore a sort of reawakening the campaign when the sensitization team arrived at Igbokoda, headquarters of Ilaje Council area, to rub minds with stakeholders on the need to eradicate all forms of injustice and discrimination against the defenseless members of society.
And that's the greatest of hotels. The hoteliers, they have promoted ladies of underage like 10, 20 years. For the purpose of enriching their costs. You move from hotel to hotel. If those people are sick, what do you do with the hotel and the ladies?
While expressing worry over the recent surge in gender-based violence in some parts of Ondo State, the wife of the governor, Arabinrin Betty Ayawa Keredolu, said it is high time concerned parties spoke with one voice to stamp out the undesirable phenomenon. Arabinrin Ayawa Keredolu, who was represented by the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Gender, Research and Documentation, Mrs. Timitoko Daniel, said the VAP law is meant to ensure that no offender of gender-based violence escape justice.
It turned out to very, very impressive. People, turned out, they came, and at the end of the program, they were all happy. They showed to us that the sensitization program was a timely one. And we have been able to sensitize them on the VAP law. We have made them to know that when anyone commits any of these offences.
The Secretary of the agency, Mrs. Bonale Afolabi, noted that it is quite worrisome that many residents are not conversant with the VAP law and what it encompasses, let alone demand their rights.
We are aware that since the inception of the Agency Against Gender-Based Violence, as well as the enactment of the VAP law in Ondo State, many of these communities are yet to know. So that is why we are here today, to educate them on the Violence Against Person Provision Law, and also to highlight all the contents free, from breaking these laws, and then to abide in peace and ensure that there is no violence in their community.
For the chairman, Ilaje local government area, Mrs. Christiana Jatu could not have come at a better time.
We have been expecting something like this before. We are very happy, and the program is taking success. My advice to my people, I feel like
who are traditional rulers, religious leaders, civil society.
Family members of Temitope Olonfene, who was beaten and set aflame for crushing 3 persons in Akure, are still in grief. Osrc quest unraveled new revelations about the status of the late Temitope, alleged to be a Yahoo boy by the Irish mobs. Ola Ngbeji spoke with his bereaved mother, Mrs. Mojisola Olonfene, wife and siblings, who are now calling for justice.
The late Temitope Olonfene was stoned to death and thereafter set ablaze on Easter Monday after crushing an Okada rider to death and injuring 6 others along the Ijoka axis of Ondo State capital. His vehicle was also set on fire by angry mobs suspected to be Okada riders who claimed to find fetish substances in his vehicle. Then, the young man was gruesomely killed in the presence of his mother and siblings, who later ran for cover. Osrc crew located where the mother of the late Temitope, his wife, and 1-year-old daughter are taking refuge after the Easter Monday's incident threw the entire family into mourning. Surrounded by tears, his mother could not hold back the tears as she narrated how her second child was brutally murdered, an experience no mother would pray for.
Ẹjọ́ ọmọ mi ni wọ́n bá sí mi mo lọ́mọ mi ni ẹ bá mi gbé wọ́n ní kàn dagibò mi lẹ́yìn bó ṣe ń petrol nínú ike ragolis bó ṣe ń dà sí wọ́n ní kó jọ mo ní kó má da petrol sí ọmọ mi ni bó ṣe mú aṣọ kan sílẹ̀ gbọ́dọ̀ da petrol sí aṣọ yẹn ó ṣàìṣàánú sí ó jù sí.
His wife claimed that substances reportedly sighted in her husband's vehicle were her personal belongings put in the vehicle.
When we got to garage, the driver, even though they are saying me, they will know me that day because I was begging them. They said they will collect money from us, 3 passenger money because of our load. He now said, okay, that I should bring out some loads, that I should take the important ones down on, like the food, things that you just need.
Wọ́n rí jò, wọ́n rí pósí, wọ́n rí kíní, wọ́n rí pátá, wọ́n rí bèrè sí à. Mo ní ẹrù ìyàwó ẹ̀ ní ìjàpá tẹ́ rí dà. Ejò tẹ́ rí dà ẹ gbé síta jẹ́ kí n wò ó. Ìgbà tí ìyàwó ẹ̀ máa dé, ìyàwó á ní pé kóló tó wà nínú mọ́tò. Òun ló ní kó ló ń ṣe kóló yẹn pé tó bá dẹ́kun. Owó tó bá ń pa ní iṣẹ́ tó ṣe yẹn wọ́n máa jù sínú kóló nù.
Family members said the deceased attended Merchant Navy Maritime Academy.
Started life. So along the line, he said we went to lag.
Sunday, me and my brother were together all day. Like he went to teach me how to drive. So Monday morning we talked. Then he later texted me on WhatsApp that was coming to pick me up. So I should get dressed. So, and I was like, okay babe, not less than 2 minutes. My dad called my mom that he was beaten up.
Now they call
our boys when I was at the moon, coffee at so top to
More worrisome is our findings that the late Temitope's family house at Abushero, where he reportedly drove towards, is less than 2 kilometers from the scene of the incident.
Yeah, since that day we did in our house, we don't go anywhere. to enter work, no fit go work again because doctor is not person like that.
We also visited the home of the Okada man who died in the accident. No one was around to offer information. His wife, who suffered multiple injuries, and 2 others are still lying on hospital beds, hoping for quick recovery at the State Teaching Hospital in Akure. However, spokesperson of the State Police Command, Olufunmilayo Odunlami Omisanya, said more arrests have been made after the first 2 arrests over what she called jungle justice. There are mounting concerns against the high-handedness of Okada riders anytime an accident involves motorcyclists, which often results in mob actions. Omoniola Humbeji, Osrc News.
And now moving to the foreign scene. A Moroccan court has sharply increased the jail sentences handed down against 3 men convicted of indecent assault for the repeated rape of an 11-year-old girl in a case that had sparked public outrage. The appeal court in Rabat has sentenced 1 man to 20 years in prison and ordered 2 to 10 years. Lawyers for the girl, who is now 12, had appealed after a lower court sentenced one of the 3 alleged attackers to 2 years in prison and the others to 18 months each. All 3 could have faced up to 30 years behind bars. North Korea says it has tested a new ballistic missile which Seoul described as its most powerful missile to date. State media hailed as the latest launch, but the action led to a brief evacuation in Japan. Neighbors are worried because solid fuel missiles can be fired more quickly than liquid fuel ones, and they are also harder to intercept. South Korea maintains that the North will need more to develop a fully operational solid fuel missiles, and this is the first time the North has done the test. And still on the foreign scene, health of imprisoned Russian opposition leader deteriorates. Spokeswoman of Alexei Navalny, Russia's main opposition leader, says the critic is grappling with severe stomach pain in jail that could be some sort of slow-action poison. An ambulance was called for Navalny overnight at Melekovo prison about 250 kilometers east of Moscow, where he is being held. Navalny was suffering from severe stomach pain and could not eat the prison food provided to him because it was making his pain worse. Akintunde Akishimola has the detail.
Allies of Alexei Navalny, the imprisoned arch-critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, say he's been hit with unknown ailment behind bars and has lost over 7 kilograms in just 2 weeks. They say the fear maybe it's the result of a slow-acting poisoning. That's according to Navalny's spokesperson Kira Yarmysh. Navalny is Russia's main opposition leader, imprisoned on fraud and contempt of court charges they say were trumped up to silence him. This is Yarmysh speaking.
The latest information we have is from Tuesday, because communication with Alexei is very difficult right now, so we don't get news as fast as we would like them to appear. His lawyer told us that a huge surprise for us, to put it mildly, because Alexei has never experienced anything like this before. Actually, he doesn't to prohibit such thing for any inmate in Russia. We can't rule out the idea that he is being poisoned even now, but not in huge dosage as before, but in small ones, so that he not to die immediately, but to suffer and to ruin his health steadily